In this exercise, we're going to create a form that takes in information from the user into form fields and performs calculations with the information that's gathered. So we're doing a painting cost estimator. So I'm going to put in the length of a room. So that would be 10 feet. You can use decimal points here. And then estimate cost. And it will give you a calculated cost. Let's look at how it does this. So in the HTML, we're calling painting.js, and we could call that here, or we could call it the bottom. It doesn't actually get called until we hit submit, so it doesn't make a big difference here. We're using IDs for each of the form fields. We have room 1 length, room 1 width, room 1 height. We have an ID of submit for the button, even though the button says estimate cost. And then we have the ID for our result, which is painting cost. Let's take a quick look at our JavaScript. So we're creating a shorthand here because we were typing document.getElementById multiple times throughout our code. We are creating a variable with the $sign. So we're having the variable equal function ID. So we have this actual function here where it's being the getElementById. So anytime we call the $sign, it's acting like getElementById. So here we have our calculate cost function, which you'll notice at the bottom of our script we have a window.onload equals function, and it's just listening for us to hit the submit button. Once submit gets an on click, and you can see we're using our shortcut here for our getElementById. Once that button with the ID of submit is clicked, the calculate cost function runs. And this should be pretty straightforward code if you've ever done any programming at all. Now when we're working with HTML form fields, by default the information contained in those form fields is assumed to be a string. So we need to convert that value. So here we're getting the value. This is your getElementById for room length 1. The value, and we're going to parse it or change it into a float from a string and store that float value, and a float just means that it's a number that can have a decimal point. We're going to store that inside of length. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to get the width, we're going to parse it or change it into a float, store it in width, and store room 1 height into height. We will do simple error checking. It's just checking to see if it's not a number, length, width, height, and it'll tell you have an invalid value. And we can go back and I can show you that. I can put in high, and it gives you have an invalid value. Otherwise, we're creating a variable which we have named total, and we're having it equal the length times the height times 2, because there's 2 walls by the length and 2 walls by the width. We're ignoring windows and doors. And we're multiplying it by 0.5, which is 50 cents per square foot. We're doing total equals total to fixed. The to fixed is giving us 2 decimal places. And so our painting cost, this is our getElementById painting cost value, equals, and we're concatenating the $sign here inside of quotes. This is a literal $sign, not our shortcut, plus the total. And so we're putting the total into the form. So that's how the form works. You're going to do something similar for homework where you calculate cost of mowing a lawn.